Hello, hello. Good time of day, everyone. So, today is going to be almost recreational programming, as I just love remaking the same sort of JRPG system over and over again. This time I'm going to try and be a little more exact. So, without further ado, hello. Oh, yeah, YouTube still changed their CSS. And I haven't looked into updating that yet. Maybe sometime soon. Anyways, just drop that down. There's an update in ASprite 2. Figured I might as well get it set up just in case, but otherwise we have this old thing, which let me resize it slightly, mostly for my sake. I could, there it is. There's the pixel. Anyways, so let me just get into there. So this is a leftover from, there we go. They're more than like. This is a leftover from when we're doing menus. As you can see, we still have the menu system in there. So this is a clone of that so that I can just take all the things. So, first off, there's at least 3 things that have to be done for this. I'll have to bring up some, functions, but usually it's divide by 4 or a range of 16% in either direction. We have map system. I'm just going to slap that down right. Let's get you to sane. Unicode, sure. 16. Map. And the combat's combat. And technically a dialogue system. Though you basically have but thou musts. So, I think I'm just going to do a quick run at map. For that, we have to decide on size. I think I'm not going to go too extreme on this. I'm just going to keep this minimal. Even the overworld would be minimal. So, let's just slap together. There it is. New file. Map.h. Pound import is pound. I am still new enough that I don't remember everything. Okay. We'll want constant. Actually, let me think. We'll need the renderer system. I don't know if we're going to need exactly in the player enemy one. But we'll need the sprite renderer. Technically, these two can be folded into their own thing, because we're not doing, like, enemies on field or anything. It's all going to be controlled by the combat system. Where's our construction? There we are. And since this is going to be the map, I have to get in some of the heartbeat features. Let me just check to see if I carried over. I've done a little bit of work trying to use this as something. Did I break out the heartbeat so that it can be... Yeah, there we are. Top heartbeat. So this can be done in any other system and it'll work exactly the same. Okay. Why you know like that? I don't think I need to. Cannot open. Oh, that's why. Yes, move it. There we go. Everything's happy. I had it in the wrong spot. So how this is going to work is that we're going to have... Actually, wait, was it const? expr, I think it is. Map width. You kind of already have this. We'll call it room. Technically, all maps, even overworld, is a room. Let's just say 64 for now. Now, I'm actually going to look this up real quick so I don't make a fool of myself. Const is a promise. Const means you'll actually kind of... How to put it? You're not supposed to ever update it, but you can update it. Const expr pretty much means at compile time, it just slaps that value into everything. And this is useful for doing silly stuff like I'll do in a second. Equals room map width, or it doesn't matter. So for normal const, you wouldn't be able... Why is it doing... Oh, yeah, because I'm being... This is what happens when you switch between like 3 different languages. There we go. So, if I just did like this, put the int in there. I believe it'll complain at me. Or am I thinking of something else? I'm probably thinking of something else. Either way, this will be just a value at compile time, so these can't actually ever be changed from this point on, which is good. But from there, we need to have some sort of tile system. And we have the options of either just having it be integers and having a whole array of this, or we can actually make tiles that have some information on it. If we have tiles that have information on it, like where you go when you step on it, that makes them larger, which on modern systems we wouldn't care about. But I think for sake of oldness, we're going to just keep them as integers. Int tile. I think this is going to... See, one second, because I'm pretty sure I have some stuff in here for tile maps, and I want to make sure I get it out. No, okay, I don't. Good. They must be in my other one. So this is going to be room tile total enum tile type. And no tile for 0. Tile, no tile. I don't bother rendering anything. Tile, grass. Tile, stone. Tile, or no. I'm thinking of overworld. It would be tile, hill. Tile, mountain. Tile, desert. Either way. We'll get to that in a minute. We have this. We can't render it all on screen, so we have to have a camera basis as per usual, which I think, yeah, let's just keep it in here for now. I don't know if we have a constant. We played with it in renders, but I'm doing something a little different because I'm going to have to keep track, because it's going to be the entire package. It's going to have the rendering, it's going to have the heartbeat loop, and it's going to have the controls in here, and also going to, I'm going to have to make another file to load stuff in, but we'll get to that. Either way, int camera x, 0, int camera y equals 0. Now the question is, do I want to have it... Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, the full question was, do I want to keep it in tile basis, or do I want to have it be actual numbers. And I think I want to keep it as actual numbers so that I can have it be halfway in a tile. And I'll just have the rendering engine take care of it. Speaking of which, did I put anything in rendering engine for... Nope, this is just basic enemy render, which I might reuse the code from, but I wouldn't be using this because Dragon Quest 1 is one enemy. Anyways, so, void render. One second. Let me just pull this up real quick. Let's keep you like 64 by 64. That'll keep me being... Oh no, that's way too small. Yeah, okay, 128 by 128. So first tile is blank. We said grass. Hill. Mountain. Is that a good color? Behold, programmer art. And I think the next one is desert. Let me export this as to my new location of this. Storage, where I keep all my junk. Programming, where I keep all my programming junk. And let me... There we go. So in the art folder you go. You are a tile map. Or no. Background tile. Sure. You're a ping. You go out there. I'll see you in a minute. And then because we did that, we go back into sprite render. I think this is where I set up all the... Nope, I guess it is consts. Nope. Oh wait, yep, there they are. Okay, we already have a map texture, so I'll be able to use that. Do you get set up anywhere? Oh, I forget the magic ways to... Okay, so that gets set up in here. Let's hop on over to... Okay. That's set up as the init, so let's keep it in that. Because this will be the first thing to run. Room. Yep, that's the all setup. Map texture equals image load. I'm just literally monkey copying the last one. Copy it through the main render, and then this will be... I already forgot the name. What are you? You're not going to tell me. Background tile. Okay. Also, I'm using 8x8 fonts. I mean, that makes sense. Anyway, that out of the way. Void render map. Don't need to take in anything. And all we need to do, as he thinks very quickly, is so I think I've discussed this before. Some of the silliness. So you have map this big. You have viewport this big. And you have viewport that actually has a tile that's half on, half off. So when you're over here, even if this is like 8 across, you have to be able to render 9. And it's +1 down there too. Just so you can get the half tiles as you move across, because you'll have one more than expected. for int tile x, set that to 0. We'll call it offset. No, not tile x. Well, tile x is less than view context per int view tile x equals I'm forgetting my constants. Map height. Or map. Yeah. Here I'm pound defining them. I could do that with with this syntax instead. Divide by 16. And I do the define stuff so that I can pass it into other things. Not right here, but I think one of the renderers I just pass over something of that nature. It's been a bit. Screen height, divide by 16, because we're using 16 by 16. So we can just iterate. This will give me how many tiles we need plus 1. And tile x plus plus. And do it a double loop, even though I don't want to. I mean, I can set it up in a way that I wouldn't have to, but eh. I just have to do more math. Why would you want to do that? Okay. Nothing to show yet. And our base. Okay. Int base x equals camera x, divide by 16, because they said having it be full tiles. Base y equals camera y, divide by 16. I'm trying to think if there's anything more we need to do. We need an offset. Okay. Int offset x equals camera x mod 16. So this will get us the stuff we have to move the tiles by. So say our camera x is at 2. So we get a base x of 0 because this truncates any sort of decimals when we divide by 16. However, this will give us the 2. So we know we have to move all the stuff over by 2. Pretty simple. So let's negative that to begin with. And then int tile index equals base x plus tile x plus base y plus tile y times, we have this called view. No, we're going off map room. Okay. Map room width. And this will align us in the array. If tile index. Actually, let's safeguard it up here. If tile x plus base x less than 0, or tile x plus base x greater or equal to room map width, just continue. And then we do the same for the Y's down here. Tile Y, base Y. Room height, which is the same as room width, but try to do it. Okay. Now, before I go any further, let me get some of the well, actually, I have SDL being imported into this, so I don't need to import it directly. SDL rect tile map source equals 0016 16. SDL rect tile map dest equals 0016 16. Just so I don't have to continuously pull something into memory if we have something sitting outside of waiting to just be reused. I've used that methodology in the past, and I will continue to use it. Okay. Trying to think, how big is the tile sheet? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just need to know the width of the tile sheet. So we get the tile index. We look at the tile map array. Actually, one second. Memory safe. Tile value equals blah. Tile index. If tile value equals 0, continue because that is the void. I like to be explicit. Else, we will grab. We will update the source. So source.x equals tile value mod tile sheet width times 16. Let me just do more fancy numbers in there. Tile map source dot x equals tile value divide by tile sheet width times 16. That should be y. So once again, I'm taking the standard conversion back and forth between a one-dimensional array and a two-dimensional array. Fun stuff. And the dest is rather simple, so tile map dest dot x is equal to tile map x plus tile map, or base x plus offset x. Or tile x, not tile map x. I'm going to have to put an edge for this test, but we'll see in a minute. Dot y equals tile y plus base y plus offset y. And we're able to get away with not updating the width or height because they're set up here, so I never need to touch them again. I never need to initialize them. Everything's fine. Until it isn't, but that's somewhere else. And let me just steal what the renderer is. There it is. Yeah, in here I put it at the start. I could just put them out here and I wouldn't have to reinitialize them every single time, and I save literal nanoseconds. Who wouldn't want to save nanoseconds? And we need to have map texture. And then we have, it's copying from tile source. Ugh, that was ugly. Tile source. Tile destination. Okay, lovely. So we have that. Now, we need to have some sort of loop to display it in. Void. Let me just see how I did this with, like, the basic test. Ba 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 ba. Yeah, we do the polling, we do the heartbeat, and then we do the main render screen. Okay, one second. Void map full render. Doing it like this so I can piecemeal in the other sprites that would be on the map. Because right now this is just doing the background. And if I were to stick in the clear screen and render part, it would just, nothing else would happen. So let me just steal this code. Boop. So first off, set everything to black, render that to screen. Then we do all our renderers in order with the one we want on bottom first, because first come, first serve. And then we have Bullet, which takes all information on the main renderer and puts it into our screen. Very simple. Void map loop. So this is where all the fun happens. And I am going to steal my heartbeat code. This has setup. Yep, let's take that as well. This is so when you hit the X on the screen, it will actually, or X on the window, it'll actually close. And we don't have any input right now. We just have the render, so let's put that in there. And then we go over to our main, which I don't have up, which is funny to me. And we pound include map.h. And I'm going to make something in here to just set up some data. So map. Did I call it tile array? Yeah, tile map. Tile map. Grib. Hold shift. Okay. Tile map equals 1. Tile map 1 equals 1. Tile. I don't know why I'm being so weird on that. Okay. Tile map. What do we say? 64 equals 2. Tile map 65 equals 2. Tile map 128. Because these are rows down, because it's 64 by 64. Equals 3. 129 equals 4. Okay. And then we pop on over here, and instead of running test menu, we run map loop. Boop. And now we see it crash. Oop, yep, I can't do anything. Really? Oh, no, thank you. That's so helpful. No, let's just ignore this for now. Shh. Fine, I'll call it something else. I could probably reuse it, but as I said, I'm trying to do this a decent bit from scratch. Okay, tile map render, sure. And then I'm going to probably put movement in here too. All the data's here, so might as well. Are you happy now? You're happy now. Either way. Let me run it. And it's not rendering. Okay. We'll close at least. And as per usual, just to make sure, standard cout in map /n, and we run this again. Seed window done. Okay, we are not getting into here. That's why, because I didn't actually check to see if it threw an error. Okay, we are getting in here. Okay, this is going to be spammy, but I'm going to want to check to see. First off, let's see what camera is. Camera plus... My keyboard's out of place, that's why. Camera Y. Oh, wait. This... Wrong language. Use the fancy things. There we go. Everything's happy now. Make sure that is where I expect it to be. And what do we get? 0, 0. Okay, so it's not negative. So let's get over here and have the spam commence. Tile X. If I can't get this done in like 15 minutes, I may go back and see what I had doing for the regular maps. Okay, let me get to the top of this list. Okay, for 0, 0, we have a value of 0 for 0. No. Oh, no, we do have a value of 1. So it's reading it correctly. Did I just screw up the name as always? Okay, let's just save as, or export as. We'll just call it tile. I can't screw up spelling tile. Okay, it's a ping. We export it. I may have actually not hit the export button because I always do that in ASprite. I click OK once and like it's done. Okay, Heartbeat sets these up, so tile. Literally tile, and it's in art. Oh, I don't need to rerun this. Oops. Because... Yep, no. So not getting there. So let's move this over here. Maybe my math is wrong on where I'm getting the X and Y. Actually, I don't need the base in here. The base is only for getting the original one. I may be just doing something silly. Though I don't think it's going to do anything. Oh, okay. They're just hyper stacking. Okay, I was wrong. This was the part that's doing it. So, tile X times 16. Times 16. There we go. As one would expect. Now then. As we got that, we want to render in NPCs on there. Alright, just adjusting myself. For that, we'll need to have some sort of container for them. So we already have, you know, like this up here. And I don't think I will keep it as simple as this. I'll just keep all the sprite information in there. So I'm going to make actors. So struct map actor. And a map actor is going to have, first off, an ID so that I can use it to trigger anything else. ID 0 will be for, like, you know, the main character. And int X and int Y, as one would expect. And then I'm going to make a direction. First off, enum direction. Let's go direction down, direction left, direction up, direction right. Do I have a direction sitting somewhere? Oh, it's supposed to be, I always get it mixed up with structs and enums. Yeah, you happy? Do I have a direction anywhere else? Nope, I don't think it doesn't look like it. And I'm still going to use int for direction, even though I could type it up as direction. It helps. Then int base sprite x, int base sprite y, and we should be good. Now then, let's whip up a very quick map spreadsheet. We'll save this as map sprite. Okay. And we're just going to have little dude. We're going to... Actually, let's do this in Quick Programmer. Behold, what people actually mean when they say programmer art instead of what I do. Okay. Then we rotate this left. And once we have that, let me just do a quick outline. So when it's on or inline. So when it is on tiles that are light, it can actually be differentiated. And why am I copying it again? So that I can fake the animation, because I'm going to, as per usual, have my silly little map sprite. And since we've made a new entity, or a new sheet, we have to go in here and make a new texture. Helps if I don't hold or hit cap lock cruise control. Okay, where do you get set? You get set up in here. So once again, just copy paste. And I had called it map sprite. There we go. So now that we got this, we would just need to initiate the actor to have the base X and base Y. And we can just copy stuff over all willy-nilly. Now then, we also need to have const X, expr, actor, max, and let's just go with 32. We'll never use it. Int invisible. Why don't you like that? Oh, okay. And I guess actually ID 0 will be, you know, ignore me. So, map actor. Map actor array will be of actor max, and we'll initiate everything to 0. Helps if I have that. So we have render tile map. Let's have render map actors. Void render map actors. This will be rather simple. Because if there's, I doubt there's ever going to be 32 on the screen. We could just technically eat the cost and just render them all. It's rendering like at most like 8 at a time. For now, I'm going to do that just to get this ready. I know they wouldn't do that at NES because they don't have the sprite limit. But otherwise, I'm doing a collision between the viewport and the actors and doing all that. But yeah, let's have that. For int index, initiate that to 0. Index is less than actor max index plus plus. If actor map actor array index dot id equals 0, well, in reality, I am cheaping a lot of it because I'm not doing this in assembly, or I'm not doing this in C. I mean, I could use vectors, but I never do. So if we have an invisible NPC we want to use for something, like, this is an old trick. So you have, you know, your grid here. And then you have an impassable, like, or no, like literally you have a treasure chest, or you have your stove, you have whatever here. It's like a box. Normally those don't have anything because they're just background sprites that prevent you from moving on it. But what you do is you put an NPC here with a trigger. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong thing. You put like a little invisible NPC here, and you don't care about like if it's solid or not. When it's placed, it doesn't have a movement or anything. And you just have your character talks to it, and then like it removes itself from the scene. It updates a flag so it doesn't get spawned in later, and it does whatever it needs to in the script. And it's just an NPC, just like everything else. A trigger would be like you walk onto here and then it does whatever script needs to be and updates, yada yada. But every treasure chest is probably the same exact code. It's just a generic one of regular NPCs. And then it possibly also updates the map so that the sprite tile is opened and like all the flags and yada yada. I mean, there's probably a few ways to do it. You could have it be, you know, a different thing too. In Dragon Warrior 1, which I will not be doing, you search the ground. So, Dragon Warrior 1, it's probably not that. It's something a little weirder. But anyways. Let's get to rendering things. And I'm just going to... Where are you? Yeah, okay, up here. I'm going to reuse those. So, source, tile, map, source.x equals map actor array. Index and have base sprite x. The reason I'm doing it this way is also because no matter what I have to do, I have to store an int in there. So I might as well make it easy on myself and not have calculations later. Because I could just put that as a index and then times it by whatever. Now where I blow that out of the water is the fact that I have to have direction in here. And then I have direction times 16. So when direction is down, it is 0. When direction is left, it is 1. And so on and so forth. And as we have on the sheet, you just offset it. Real simple, real dumb. Gotta love it. And that's also why I kept it an int. Well, I probably could have, you know, coerced it into like map source.y equals this, or coerce it into like an integer. I mean, cast it and all that fun stuff. Y. And this one is going to be frame count. No. I swear I had a frame counter. Ah. Lots of math scares me. Okay, so let's look up at the heartbeat, because the heartbeat should be able to... should have the accumulator or top heartbeat. I guess it's overall time. I thought I had a frame count in here. I mean... there's no reason I shouldn't. Let me int frame count equals 0. Const yeah, I'll just constant for now. Frame rollover equals there. I get a lot of... oh, no, it helps if it's an int. Yeah, whatever. So, back in here, this is for animation. No, I don't need to do that. I just need to do this. There. Everything's great. Now we have a frame count in order to do crappy animation with. So every 64 frames, we want to loop it. And if it's greater than or equal to 32, we times that by 16. Says booleans are returned as a 0 if they're false, or a 1 if they're true. We could use that as a simple offset to move it down, up or down 16. Either way, we have that. Tile map dest.x equals map actor array index x tile okay. And then I just copy over this thing because it is literally the same thing because I'm stealing from it. I'm even using the same rectangles because they're there. However, map sprite texture. There we go. Now let's set up the first one. So, in fact, I should make some helper methods. Void set actor array int index int id int x int y int direction int base sprite x int sprite y int invisible. I could possibly reuse invisible so half the time it renders. Ooh, ghost, spooky. Anyways. Equals. And then we just do this fancy stuff because C++ allows you to do that. In other languages, you would have to use a new to do something like this. C++ doesn't care. Set next actor. And we're just going to copy all this over because it's going to be the same thing. Sans the index because we're going to be finding the index. And we're going to have returning true or false if it succeeded. Boop. And we get rid of index. And for index, initiate to 0. Index is less than map actor max. Index plus plus. If map actor array index .id equals 0. Continue. The other one I did. Anyways, alright, just thinking a bit. So then we set the next actor. And I could cheap out by just copying all this. Putting index in here. And return true. Return false if it falls off. What we do with that information, I don't know. Either way, we are going to be setting actor with an ID of 1 and 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Very useful. And then we are going to be putting a render map actor here. We hit this button. That's showing up. Is it possible because I did not export this? Always possible. Okay. Ah, one other thing I need to have in here is also offsetting it by minus camera X minus camera Y. Which I don't think is going to do anything in this case. Nothing yet. Let's see. I am actually rendering this. I am rendering this. Oop. Oh, there we go. Oh, I screwed up the way down. What? Okay. First off, let's clear this. Oh, too few arguments. How's it too few? So, oh, I forgot to include the ID. That's why. And still not showing. Okay, first off, let's get the spam out from this. And move on to better spam. Homemade spam. So is it always exiting? Okay, hit that. For index 0, 0, so something's not being set up right. So either this is not working as expected. Oh, that's why. It should be does not equal 0. They're all set to 0 to begin with. And there we go. Why aren't you squishing every other frame? Yeah, let me get out the spammy stuff. Go away for a second. Okay, then we go up here. What don't you like about that? Oh, I forgot an N. And I closed my command window. 1 second. Do. Programming CD Dragon Warrior like. Yep. Main.exe. Frame count is not updating. Strange. Frame count should be updating. Back in here. We aren't calling heart. That's why. So I went in there specifically to update all that. But what needs to happen is that the top thing is called every frame. There we go. So we got the silly little dance animations they have. So can quickly, just to test some things, let's always assume that index 0 is player. We'll be able to, change the player's sprite rendering by just updating that one, and like on load of new map, make sure that it's properly updated, or item change does that, but seems like a reasonable way to do this. I mean, the alternative is that it has an ID system and it always pulls from the proper thing based on ID, but let's not go down that path right now. In ye olden days, they probably did it all off ID, I'll be honest. So, if main controller dot right equals 1, standard chaff of move around. And actor, map actor, 0 dot direction equals direction left direction right. No, that was right. This is left. I'm just changing directions at the moment. Won't bother with the movement till minute. And then I'll probably make it more generic because sometimes you want to have scripting on. NPCs moving around. Dragon Warrior actually did have NPCs move around, which is... It might have been in the NES port. But, they moved around. They did the Final Fantasy thing where they would annoy you sometimes. Dragon Warrior for Japan was a real beast. Yep, take a look at that. Now, I don't think I'm going to be doing too much more because I want to write my JRPG combat. But I need to eat a bit of my vegetables before I get to the meat of the course. But I am going to genericify that so that it can be used later. Genericify? Is that a word? Probably not. So let's go up here. Void, or bool, move actor, int ID, int direction. And for now, map. Yeah, they wander around a little bit. And they also, in some cutscenes, they had like characters move, which is to say the last cutscene of the game. But hey, you don't have to go back to the main loop after you do that. But they did have some NPCs move around. In fact, it was used in the speedruns to know what seed you're on. If you're doing a manipulated run. Yeah, because you start up the game, and then you go downstairs and you hold down, and you have to hope to see that, like, 2 of the NPCs move in a particular way, and then you didn't, like, mess up getting to the seed you needed from start on. Anyways, enough of that. What I want to talk about is combat. Because ostensibly I got all the rendering done. What would be left in there is making sure that we have collision happening, and then actor stuff. And actor stuff gets complicated. Let me just have a little bit of meat. I've eaten enough salad. So we make a new file. And we call it combat.h. I know, exciting. We are going to want to have pretty much the same things as map. We want to have the heartbeat. We want to have the renderer of all that. And we probably want to actually have menus. Oh yeah, that's easier to do because you can literally store like the array of things it's allowed to walk on, which is probably very useful. I mean, other ones could be just you set like how you store its main point of X and Y, and then you store the range you can move to, and that like literally solves a lot of problems that Final Fantasy had, where an NPC can literally walk into a doorway you need to go through, and you have to wait till it moves out, or you just render things like NPC can't sit here on the map. But okay, so we have this menu data. There we go. I have a feeling we'll need this, and I will need to do something with it. Include menu data. Now, I think I didn't make this generic enough. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you can have all that, render multi-line, display off. Yeah, this one's hard-coded to go off of... Excuse me. Sorry about that. And back. Yeah, there's lots of ways you can solve it when you have lots of memory to put behind stuff, but working in the constraints, you also don't have a lot of overhead. Okay, so I was looking in here. Now, I'm going to at least need to have 2 menus. I could, excuse me, have stuff passed in here. I think I will. But for now, let's just have one menu at a time and revamp it for what it needs to be at that thing. Either way, I want to get to functions and combat formulas because that's the most fun thing to me. First off, combat. We'll just call it combat stat. So we need a name. This will be updated as it goes in. We need HP, level. EXP. One of these is just going to be sitting around for all time. Do I just... am I forgetting something? Did I forget a letter? Yes, I did. There we go. HP, int max HP, int MP, int max MP. Now, from there are 4 stats. I think actually Dragon Warrior has less. Let me just take a look at that. Dragon Warrior. Dragon Warrior Ness combat screenshot. Because I do know it displayed all the text on screen of what you had. Nope, it doesn't display that. Dragon Warrior 1 Ness player stats. It made sure to show how much gold you had, because this is like Dragon Warrior, and I don't know if Wizardry had created the standard of when you die and get, resurrected, you lose half your gold. Okay. So you had strength and agility. Can I just get something? Because I was taking a look. How it... so there is actually different stat growth in Dragon Warrior, and it's all based off your name. Which is kind of funny. Honestly, I should probably just look over enemies. Ba, 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 ba. Though enemies ostensibly kind of have mildly different. Yeah, this one isn't getting the strength. 1 minute. Dragon Warrior Ness Bestiary. So I'm not getting the deepest one. I want to have the one where it actually, okay. Strength, agility. I guess it's only strength and agility, and you didn't have vitality till later. Though enemies did have a effectively a vitality stat, a power stat and a vitality stat. Well, strength is that. All spells are basically fire and forget, like, D&D, where they didn't have anything else influence. So, int agility. Strength. Int vitality. For basically, vitality for monsters was because the player actually got armor. Monsters got vitality instead because players didn't have innate defense. It only came from their armor and such. And also need to have this struct. Player item. This is a little weird because I need to have an inventory in order for the player to actually be equipped. Because how Dragon Quest, and I don't know if it stopped doing it. You can see some of the heritage in like Earthbound and Mother, but each character has their own inventory, and it basically just had like is this item equipped or not for them? And that's how I would go through the list and figure out your stats and your boosts from that. But, okay. Int item ID bool, which is going to be an int anyways, equipped. And that'll just make my life easier. So it probably is literally stored as like, if it's a negative number, it's equipped. If it's a positive number, it isn't. And as like a char or something, because there wasn't that many items. And there was no item stacking. Your herbs were quite literally one per slot. Okay, so let's get into some formulas. Int physical damage. Yeah, it was a lot of management. Later ones started stacking the herbs, and more modern ones have a infinite bag for like, I think the throwaway and lampshading is like, yeah, you have an infinite bag you have to rummage through, so you can only use it outside of battle. But I think they might, it's been a bit, I think they might still have it like in combat, you're limited to what you set up the equipment for. So there's no like switching, unless you want to sacrifice all your equipment slots, there's no switching to like the Slayer type weapons. Yeah, early on it didn't have infinite bag because, yeah. Most games, actually no, Final Fantasy effectively had an infinite bag, but that's more like 256 item slots, because just fill up memory, and what are we going to do with it anyways? Okay, anyways. So we're having attack, power, defense. Let me bring up the original ones. There is a weird form. I assume that the formulas are pretty much the same, but there is a Dragon Quest Cosmic, which is like a kind of play by post form that has like all the stats up there, which I find kind of funny. Anyways, Dragon Warrior combat formula. This 8-bit guide coming off. Who is it? Ryan 8-bit and good old fashioned game facts. Da 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 da. Maybe enemies don't actually have. I swore they had resist though, because I'm like, if I find metal slime. Maybe metal slime just had something inbuilt. I might have to work with it differently, but anyways. Physical attack. Sorry, I'm jumping through guide. Precise formula, common algorithms. Sure, let's go there. Oop. Oh god, they actually have the assembly code. Load previous random number. This might be a little too deep for me. The repel spell. Silver Harp encounters. Surprisingly, in like a lot of speed runs, using items is the best way to go. Because it's consistent damage, so you don't have to worry about variability in your damage. Da-da-da. Okay, I think we're getting... Okay, here we are. All the combat statistics. Strength, enemy, strength, attack power, agility, points, number, da-da. So I guess the enemies in Dragon Quest 1 didn't have a vitality stat. I was wrong on that. I always assumed they did. Because I know later ones, they kind of bring it up. And that's how they make, like, you know, Metal Slime's just absurd by just setting that at the max. So no attack can actually do more than 1 damage because they have the plinking mechanic where, you know, 50% chance if you would deal no damage, you deal 1 pity damage. And that's how you're supposed to chip through a magic slime. And the magic slimes just have, like, resistance, or metal slimes, and they just have a resistance to everything. Okay. And yes, the old-fashioned Dragon Quest has the enemy's max HP be random. Oh, there it is. Damage resist. So they do have it in here. Okay. It's just nowhere else they put it. I don't know why. Okay, let me take a look at this. So there's the dodging. Okay, there's the DR. Damage resist. First bit. That is 16. Oh, wait, no. That's for hurt. Okay. I want to get to basic combat, but this is actually kind of interesting. I mean, I could just try and implement this, but I would be here all day. Because it's literally giving me the registers that everything works off of. Also, it doesn't look like in this one the excellent hit is based off your agility. That came from later Dragon Quest, and that is why I think I might just be doing like one of the other ones. Let me just Dragon. I'm going to be doing it off the Cosmo formula because I'm taking too long to look into here. So anyways, I think everything in here seems like it had a 1% crit rate. Or a 1 out of 32. Like above, it will branch if the result is not 0. It is calculated damage. Yeah, it's a 1 out of 32. Int or bool crit equals rand 32 equals 0. Now what crits do is that they ignore all defense. Otherwise the formula is as like this. I think for the original one it might just double it. I'm actually kind of taken aside by the fact that the original Dragon Quest did not have defense for enemies. Okay. The end result for the hero's attack is rand times hero's attack bit shift by 2 and then bit shift by 8. Let me look through that. Load a random number stored at boo. Load the hero's attack divided by 2. Multiply by the random number by the hero's attack. Yeah, I think this is the good old-fashioned 16 in either direction. Let me check. Cosmos says attack times random 0 to 255 divided by... Let's go with this, because I think that's effectively the same. Sorry for going on to weirdness, but I wanted to take a look at all the formulas again. And it's been a while. I find JRPG damage formulas to be absolutely insane and interesting at the same time. Power minus attack power times rand modulus 256 over 512. I mean, look at that. Look at that thing. It's an ugly monstrosity. Excellent hit is a crit, yes. So in Dragon Quest, how, like in earlier Pokemon too, how crits worked is like just toss out defense. The defense value is completely removed from the equation. So they're absolutely deadly. Except in Gen 1 of Pokemon, they've really botched it, but how do I want to return stuff back? Well, okay, I think I'm going to have to remove this. This is going to be standard attack damage, because I want to have the other functions. Bool is crit. Crit max equals 1. And we'll return this. Bool is dodge. Int dodge max equals 1. That's out of like 6 or 32. Let me just double check, because I think the lowly slime should be my base case for how often can you dodge. And this has formulas for, or the statistics for enemy dodges. Okay, so it says a slime of agility 3. Is this out of 64 then? So I know all the death saves are basically... Okay, so it's out of 64. Yeah, okay, that's kind of crazy. So the first enemy you encounter has a 3 out of 64 chance of dodging. That's a lot more than I'd expect. And the hero, of course, uses his agility. Now remember, in like Dragon Quest 1, you can only go up to like level 20. Yeah, this might be where I'm mixing up some things, because agility is straight up dodge chance. Low numbers and caps mean a lot. Okay, anyways. So we get this. If attack is greater than defense, I can't spell, else we do a plink. Okay, so let me get back to some of the formulas. So, damage calculation. If none of the above damage is given by the formula, attack Okay, so that's just the damage range, and it's just making that go absolutely nuts. Let me see about from the assembly code if they can explain it better. Damage. Okay, that's for breath type attacks, which might be interesting to look at later. Excellent move check, excellent move damage. Regular damage, there we go. The end result is hero attack mine. Oh yeah, because they don't have... Okay, let me look at damaging the player. They use enemy agility. Interesting. Okay, so defense for enemies was straight up their agility. As I said before, all the formulas I generally found, enemies have a power and a vitality stat. Vitality is just like enemies don't have equipment, therefore use vitality stat. But the fact in early on they just use it for everything, that's kind of silly. That's like very D&D-ish, to be honest. Okay, let me just see the simplified formula. I'm going to use defense. So, simplified as... Hope that's the wrong thing. I'm going to move this slightly off the screen. Int damage equals... Rand plus 256. I think the simplified would be harder to implement it, but I know what they're doing. Int base damage equals attack. Or no. Attack power minus defense. Okay, so we get that, so that's positive. Half defense. Yeah, that was always the thing. Like, defense was always divided by like 2 or 4. I think the normal one that I know of is that attack was always divided by 2, defense was divided at 4. But I thought that it was always that that was used throughout everything. But it was to keep, like, you know, shadow boxing up. The main thing is like, let me just bring this up. I'm going to make graph real quick. So the thing with, like, you know, if damage, or if, like, defense is this, and you just have a damage is attack, or defense, or attack minus defense, you just have a linear thing going on. And you're just shadow boxing. Because the only way you work is if, like, if defense is, like, always lower than this. Or you just, like, you know, you want it to seem like it's growing, but then you can't have a linear growth in defense. So, what Dragon Quest does is that it does have the linear growth, but then it even penalizes defense more by reducing it by 4. So you have this line right here. You always have your attack going up, but you always have it going up even more by, like, your strength bonuses and your equipment bonuses. So you look like you're always doing more damage, even though like defense stays steady, like technically on it, but in reality, it's like shifted over. And the balancing act is honestly, it hurts. I've tried to do it a few times. It is not a thing to do. But anyways, let me get back to, on this browser, looking at this insane little damage formula and trying to port this over because I'm not using straight up agility. So you reduce it by that. And you have your base damage, and then the randomness is, let me look up and see if he like gives the random call. Because what is currently going on is equal to rand plus 256. And I don't know what he means by that. So I have to see what random is. I assume it's going to be just random 0 to 256. Yeah, he doesn't say what the random number value or range is. I'm going to assume 256, to be honest. Either way. And then you shift it over by 10. What is 2 to the power of 10? Is equivalent to 10, yeah. 1,024. So let me noodle this for a second. So if I assume that random values is between 0 and 255, so we add that. And the formula here is... Sorry, I'm fixing my screen. I'm going to call this normal. Int random, int final is equal to random times attack, and then it's all bit shifted, so effectively divided by this seems a bit silly, but I'm not sure what it is. Ness random value. Oh wait, actually 8-bit highest. Yeah, 8-bit would give, if they're using a full 8 bits, but is it a full 8 bits? Like, he actually tells where the RAND comes from, and it comes from a registry. And if we assume that every registry is 8 bits, it should be able to generate 256. I think I'm right there. I want to run math real quick. So let's say 4 attack, 4 defense. It comes in and gets 2 base damage. Then it gets a number between 256 and 511 because, you know, you got to get a 0 in there. Then it's like, let's just say, let's roll max damage. Times 2 equals 1022. Divide by 1028. I'm literally getting a calc out. This is silly. I thought it would be a little... Like, it might be simpler when you actually look at it and see what they're trying to do, but... Equals 1 damage. Okay, let's go later. Let's say that we have 8 and they have 3. So that gives us 7. Because this divided by 2 is 1. Because you got to truncate. Yeah, 7. And once again, we'll just say we roll max damage. So 511 times 7. So 357 divided by 1028 is equal to 3 damage. Okay, I think this is honestly correct in my assumption. But this seems silly. Oh, so silly. So what's the min range? So we roll 256 times 7. And then divide that by 1028, which gives us 1. So we're doing all that work to give us a range between 1 and 3 when you have basically double that. I mean, honestly, it feels JRPG, I'll be on. So let's say we have 50 attack and... Let me look up a later level enemy. You have an agility of C8. C would be... Okay, so 16... That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, one second. Calculator, come back. So 16 times... I am reading that right. Yeah, I am, because... Yeah, okay. So 16 times 10, 11, 12... Yeah, 12? Oh, no. 16 times 12 plus 8. So 200. That kind of feels like a number they'd give. So let's say we have 200 and they have 200. So that gives a difference of 100 because you divide this by 2 and then you minus it, so you get that. So we have 256 to 511. Let's start with 511. So that and then divide that by 1028, which gives us 5 damage. What's the Dragon Lord's health? A lot. I have to look up something. Dragon Quest 1 stat growth. Dragon Quest 1 weapons. List of all weapons from Dragon Quest 1. Oh no, that's the remake. NES. NES. Okay, so at level 20, you can have up to 9, like 92 strength, and you could probably have plus 10 if you had a if you had a name that did that. So let me take a look at the weapons. Erdrick's sword is only 40. So you might have 140. I don't think you plink like that. Something seems a bit off, but I'm going to just roll with this for now. That said, critical hits. And you're casting hurt, which is like or hurt more, which does a lot more damage. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, excellent hit. Just like a standard enemy attack, the range for the hero's standard attack damage is from. Yeah, it's divided by its enemy. Okay, this is where okay. This is where I'm getting the divide for. So I just jumped to a section that gives the simplification. It's saying hero attack minus enemy agility divided by 2. Divide by 4 to hero attack minus enemy agility divide by 2 divide by 2. Which, I mean, like, is kind of a reasonable range, but that's some HP bloat. And the excellent attack, hero attack, divided by 2 to hero attack. I mean, I could implement this, but I think technically it's all already baked in. So if we have 140 attack, and the enemy, I still don't think that's right for the yeah, that is an agility of 200. That's in his non. Okay, let me just work through this, because either I was wrong in my numbers or this seems very silly. So it doesn't plink because no, it would plink. No, it's divided by 2 when it checks for basically 2 hit. That's what this is doing. Because this is effectively too many numbers. Okay. Don't do numbers live. So this is 100. So that's 40 divided by 4, and that's getting 10. You know, I'm just going to go off of this formula because it's easier to follow. So first off, attack is going from 0 to its full thing. And I think this has to be by 2. Yeah. Yeah. This makes sense. Maybe. It's throwing into question how much I actually know. There are 2 formulas for attack for enemies. The standard range is from enemy strength minus hero's defense. Yeah, so they're going both ways on this. And then you have your dodge chance and plinking. Yeah, okay. Let's just go with the simplified formula that they have here. So you either always do damage or not. So you have this. Your base damage is minus that. Okay, let's go with min damage. So that's 4. Int max damage. Now then, that you have this, you do the range dance. Because this will always be higher than this one. And then you just return rand. Modify range. Maybe there's some reason not to do this, but okay. This is the formula I'm familiar with. just a bit silly. Okay. Looking at the big numbers that they did where they encode, because why they didn't do it like this in the code is that I'm generating two variables that are effectively derived from the same thing. That's why they're doing all the multiplication and all the weird random range in order to encode that into one single formula and not keep variables around and then do this little thing here. Because technically the range isn't a proper random number because it's not fitting into the powers of 2. But I will live with this because I am done. Okay. Int. Excellent damage. Int attack power. And this is literally return rand. I'll go with the 256. Plus 250. So we get that. Oh, that's the wrong. Okay, so we got that. Then we times it by attack power and divide it by 512. I think that's the right thing. So let me just prove that out. So we have 256 to 512. We have attack power of 10. So that should give us 5 to 10. So we roll low it and we get 256. So we get 256 times 10 and then divide by 512. Calculator says 5. This one I can follow because there's only one variable. I am not good at math. Math is not what I'm good at. I am good at taking abnormal amounts of time to do a simple task. But the task will get done. And of course, 512 times 10 just moves it over, so you get 512, and then you divide it by 512, and you get that back. You get 10 back. So that is the correct formula. Bah. Now then. We got int dodge, int this. I guess also what we need in here. I could... So actually, yeah, I guess I'm going full clone. Let me check what it says for the monster, or for monsters attacking player. Okay, hero defense. Where does hero defense come from? Okay, hero's defense. Yeah, hero's defense isn't coming from agility, so player's agility does not calculate into defense. Okay. Seems fine to me. But what we also need is the following. So, while I say that, in my opinion, Final Fantasy followed D&D more at the start and just like went all the way with that, well, Dragon Quest followed Wizardry and the Ultima series a little bit. The weirdness is that I believe Dragon Quest has kept the save system. So you have a sleep resist, a hurt resist, and dodge chance, and gold. And these are out of 16. Out of 16. Except for dodge, which is out of 64. Oh, wait. Okay, they reused agility for if goes first and how much they can avoid damage. Okay, that makes sense. And dodge is its own thing. Because I was going to say, like, wait a second. 200 200 agility on the Dragon Lord's second form. Spoilers. Always means it dodges. Okay, so that's how they squared that circle, is that they kept it in two different tables. Which means agility is a bit weird. Anyways. Back to it. So I'm going to just make out the rest of the formulas real quick. Fool is resist hurt or sleep. Let's go with that. Int sleep max 1. Some enemies don't actually have a sleep resistance. It's a very traditional joke that golems can be put to sleep. Because the first game had a golem you put to sleep with a flute. So all golems have basically no sleep resistance. And hurt is literally the hurt spells. Which became like Blaze and such on. Okay. And that takes care of all the basic formula in there. Anything else we need in here? I mean, enemies have an attack pattern. But I can base that off of ID on what I need to look up. There weren't enemy drops at this point. This is like pre-enemy drops, I think. Yeah, I love niche stats effects. Like Final Fantasy, all the giants are especially weak to gravity. Good stuff. I'm not even sure if agility had you go first. What is agility used for by the player? Is it just like the defense is being tallied up? Okay, player agility. Okay, it's also used for how hard it is for you to run away. Dodge is the chance. Let me go through this. I've taken this table as true because it has assembly code in it. Even though it is not the best formatted for me to try and figure out what the heck is going on. Agility is defense frames. Okay, there it is. Hero's defense is equal to agility times 2 plus the modifiers from his equipment. So there is no vitality. Agility is defense for everyone. This is literally D&D dexterity. Okay, now getting to things. Constant player inventory max. Let's just say 8. We'll do ID stuff later. Right now, player item, player inventory, player inventory max. We initiated to nothing. And just for some dummy data, enum player item, no item, no, not player item, item ID. I can actually probably just make the list real quick, because Dragon Warrior 1 items. There's only like 12 items. I also don't know why they changed the name. Oh, wrong thing. It's like the Erdrick's sword was the localization. It used to be Lodo's sword. And I don't know where Lodo comes from. That's one thing I don't know. Anyway, Bam item bamboo pole. Item club. Item copper sword. Item iron axe. Item steel sword. Item hero sword. This is a clone, remember? And that is literally all the weapon equipment in Dragon Quest 1. Which, you know, is absolutely insane if you ever played, like, Final Fantasy. But it was made way before Final Fantasy. Now then, on to... Hope that's not it. Armor. So, item clothes. I always love clothes options. Item leather armor. Item chain mail. Item iron armor. Item steel armor. Item magic armor. Item hero armor. That's all the armor. There are like 2 other accessories. One of them was bugged in the original version. Oh, we had shields too. Okay. Item small shield. Item large shield. Item Dragon. Item... One second, I'm trying to think. I thought there were 2. I think the dragon scale was bugged, but like it gives +2 defense. Or was it something else that was bugged? Was it the cursed items? Oh, there it is. The fighter's ring. That was the one I'm thinking of. +2 defense. +2 attack. So pretty much plus nothing defense except for like possibly negating 1 damage, kind of, sort of, on a high roll. Actually, did I get those backwards? Nope, I got those right. I did get those backwards. Because this is divide by 2... Oh wait, this is a little higher. So this is divide by 2. This is divide by 4. So this will be higher because... Or no. Ah. Yeah, defense will be lower for them. Okay, anyways. So here's all the items. Here's the shields. Actually, did they have one more shield? You know, this would be at the point if I was doing my own project, I'd make 1,000,000 more of them. Silver shield. Now, because I have all this, int get item defense, int item ID, and then we just have a lovely little case here. Oh no, we have a little switch. Case, let me pull up the chart. I don't know why I'm going this in debt. I don't even have a combat engine, and that's all I wanted to do today, but Windows, please. That's all I wanted to do was make a simple combat engine. But here I am, doing this. Case, item, close. Return to. Case. Item, leather arm. Return 4. Case. Oops. Case. Did I not put it in there as leather armor? Can I not? Oh, large armor. I can't spell. I never can spell. Item, chain. Return 10. Case. Item, iron armor. Return 20 or 16. Case. Item, steel armor. Return 24. Here's a funny one. Case. Item, magic armor. Return 24. So the thing with like magic armor and the quote-unquote heroes armor is that they gave you regen outside of battle. So you could just like literally walk around until you fill up on health. Hero armor. Return 28. Case. Small, or item. And I always try and like think on the whole like sorry for all the Oz. Shadow boxing that kind of goes on in these systems. Because really you want to have some gains when you level up. And the only ones I think that kind of work are the ones that do like times 10 and all that, but that's silly because you never know what your original damage is. Or your original defense and all that. Morkborg kind of like, hey, you increase the number of the dice, it makes sense. But the D&D sort of dodging system with deflection system of armor has always been interesting. I think it works fine enough as long as it isn't huge. Case. Item Dragon Scale. Return 2. And return 0. We don't need a default case because it will fall off the end anyways. Are you happy? You're happy. Int get item attack. Int item ID. Switch item ID. Case. It's only like 3 of them. Sorry. Item bamboo pole. Return 2. Case. And also, the horrors of trying to make PvP. Copper. So you never really get balance there either. But at least in a single player game. Oh, no, that's not it. Did I just call it Iron Axe? Okay. At least you can have fun with it and have less salty people. Case. Item flame. Did I not put flame sword in there? I did not. Turn 28 and a real jump up. Also, I think possibly the hero sword also like halved the final boss's defense, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. Case fighter ring. Return 2. And return 0. Now we can get the player's HP. Or get the player's defense. Int get player attack. So now we need to have 2 different enemy or two different structs for this. Combat stat player. Combat stat enemy. Int attack equals player.strength. And I can't spell. which is a shock to no one. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. Now these have to be differentiated because like the player has the whole inventory thing. Otherwise you could just pass around the variable. So for int index is less than did I call it max player item or something? Player inventory max. Index plus plus. If player inventory index dot equipped attack plus equals get item attack player inventory index. I can't see what's going on at the end. I have to move this over a little bit more. That's not good. Dot item ID. Simple. I'll even put it on another line so that it could be seen. Boo, 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 boo. Not yeah, that should be fine. And defense is the same thing. Copy. And then we get player agility, which I find is strange. I always thought their vitality stat was across everything. Get item defense. And there. That's practically everything for the engine. Did I make a scroll in my renderer? Right renderer. Okay, this takes in a string. So render block should be fine. You know, it's almost... I didn't want to go too long today. I have a few things I need to do. How long has this stream been up? Almost 3 hours. I'll hit the 3-hour mark and I'll call it. A little less than I want to get done, but I gone down a rabbit hole of formulas. Trying to figure that out was a mess, but okay. Anyways... combat text out equal, or is a standard string. And what I need to do is have a renderer now. Let's get into the render mess. What do I have in this folder? Do I have anything set up for art that I could just splat in there? Yeah, I have the enemy. I have the silliest of enemies. Okay. So enemy struct, enemy sprite, or no, enemy statistics. So this is going to be a duplicate of all this stuff up here. And it's going to be loaded in, but it's also going to have the enemy sprite location. So first off, let's yoink this. Because there's really no good way. I have to have something that stores this in memory. And then we have int attack pattern, which would be later, and int sprite x, int sprite y. You happy? Oh no, you're not happy. Are you happy now? There you are. Int const enemy max, enemy enemy stat max. We'll just keep it at 2, at 1 for now. And then we have enemy stat list or array of enemy stat max. And then we literally fill them out, just like we do with everything else. So this is a slime. It's level 1. Actually, I can look up statistics. Let's just feed those in there. Room. Yeah, the level doesn't matter for that. The EXP does. It has an EXP of 1. It has an HP of... Actually, it doesn't need... I don't think they actually have MP, but we'll keep it in there anyways. We have a max HP of 3. They're random. We have 0. Doesn't need it. Sleep resist is 0. Stop spell resist of 15, which means it always happens. Hurt resist to 0. Dodge of 1. Gold of 1. Basic pattern, and we can say it's at 0, 0. And for giggles, we could say, you know, red slime. Or the she slime. Which is literally just... Oh, where's strength? I think I botched strength in there. Yes, I did. Okay, so we had the max HP. And then it was agility and the strength. So 3, 5. Boop. Now this one has an HP of 4. And then an agility of 3, but a strength of 7. And I think I have too many. Okay, what's going on here? Name, EXP. Okay, so EXP and level. Okay. Ah, there we go. That's supposed to be 0. This is 3 and 5. And those are the resists. And this is gold. This is attack pattern. Okay. Everything's better. I'm just going to mimic that for over here. And this is going to be 16 over. And this is going to be 7, and it's going to have 4 HP. Okay, so why did I do it like this? So that I can load it up. Void load enemy data. Int ID. So enemy dot name is equal to ID dot name. Enemy dot HP is equal. I should do some randomization on this, but I'm not going to right now. ID dot HP. And then we copy this over for max. I think enemies should have, you know, max MP and all that. Oh, it's max. It is max on both sides. Okay. Like max MP, I have been watching somebody go through all the classes in Final Fantasy V. And the ability to run in a boss out of MP is hilarious. And I think it should be a continued tradition. Okay. And then we just go on to agility. And then strength. Sleep resistance. Hurt resist. Hurt is a kind of interesting thing. I don't know what its original name in Japanese was supposed to be, but it was hurt in English, which is kind of funny because that's what D&D clerics can use. But it became blaze and like the fire spells later on, when they started to differentiate them into like actually elemental resistances and such, which Dragon Quest is kind of weird on about elemental things. Like, the hero shield. Oh, was that not on the list? I'm not going to add it anyways. The hero's shield, or possibly armor, like halved magic damage and breath attacks. Because breath attacks are considered their own thing. And, well, it says there's only like a bunch of, not that many enemies. They were all just fire attacks. Like later ones, you know, started to have elemental ones and poison ones and have you, but original Dragon Quest, not so much. Original Dragon Quest didn't have direction-facing players or anything like that. They had like Talk West. Man, that I know some of the older games have that, but oh, that just seems painful. Okay, so we load the enemy, and when we need the actual like, you know, sprite locations, we just go to them. So now that we have this, void render enemy. combat enemy. Because I know we already have that, and I think I have it halfway inbuilt, but I have to bounce through this. And there's no list of them. So let's just render it in the middle of the screen, minus it by like a little bit. Let me actually pull up the sprite sheet. Okay, we're in the right folder. You are 32 by 32. Okay. SDL rect, and we have it be enemy source 0032. SDL rect. We won't deal with that for now. Screen width divide by 2 minus 16. Screen height divide by 2 minus 16. And 32, 32. That will mess up later because they have bigger enemies, but let's just get this out the door for today. That's why. Now, if anyone remembers when I was trying to do Final Fantasy as per Morgborg, I had a heck of a time trying to get stuff to render correctly and what it should be and flipping around. This is why, because I can just render it rather easy. With this, if I have a ping, I can render it rather easy. So, here we go. This is all I want from over here. Boop, boop. This will be source. This will be dest. And all this is going to do is it's going to get .x is equal to player, or no, enemy statistic array. Enemy dot. Oh, do I not have an ID set up? Let's add that real quick. Okay, and let's fly back to here. So technically, the player is always going to be a slime. High stats for a slime. Dot sprite x enemy source dot y equals enemy statistics enemy dot. Whoop. Can I not spell? I cannot spell. Okay. And that's all there is to rendering an enemy. Void render combat. And I'm sure that this exists somewhere, so I'm going to do this real quick and see if it yells at me. Oh, it didn't yell at me for that. That's refreshing. What did I mess up, though? Okay. Okay, now let's really see it mess up on me. Cool. You can warn all day. I don't care. Okay, let's get back into this. So render combat. Let's steal from the map, which is to say we make everything black for our black ground. Then we render everything to the screen. And we run this. And as before, we need to have ourselves a little heartbeat. So void combat heartbeat or combat loop. We just go over here. We steal all this. I'd make a control thing in a minute, but let's just gut this out for now. And then we render combat. And then we go over to main and we import combat. And then we do the loop. And we should get a slime into the middle of the screen. Won't that be exciting? Ah. Oh. This is why I prefix in here. Whoops. Clear. Okay, now we can start to see it yell at me. Oh, that's not bad. Okay. Let's see if it works. So we should just get a... Oop. We had a brief something and it was loading up the wrong sheet. Let me fix that real quick. So go back into Combat Editor. The issue is that the renderer is currently going off map sprite sheet. There we go. So we have the enemy textured. Now, why did it just, like, die? So this should be looping forever. Let's try that again. Well, it did show the right one, but then it died instantly. Is it falling out of this? Fell out. Always put your little semicolon at the end. Okay. So I run it. It's dying. So there's something bad going on in this. So it's not following out of this. Now let's take this out of here as well. Close this down. So something in render combat is not pleasing it. If I take this out, it'll be rendering nothing, but that at the very least will be getting me closer to what it's trying to do, what it's dying on. We gotta figure out the crime scene. Okay, so it's not this. If we literally don't do any of this, Strange. Okay, time for a little bit of debug bombing. Yep, the the Slime Knight. I don't know, I find it funny that it's actually a thing. See if it even gets that far. Because it's coming up for a frame. Yeah, it doesn't even get out of that. Strange. Oh, Yeah, and it's going to yell at me more because I'm... PowerShell, please. Okay. So it gets after render. Then it gets... It dies, like, right here. So, No, I didn't want to click that. Oh. Wait. It should be combat loop. Okay. It helps if you actually call the thing. There we go. We got our slime. Okay. Let's do an initiate combat thing. And also render in a block of text. I'm surprised that actually worked. Because it didn't have all the render stuff set up, but it did render it for a split second. Yeah. Void render text scroll. Combat text. Okay, and we have... that sucker. And we have a block text. Render the render font texture. Do it 16 in. Screen height divide by 2 plus 32. Screen width minus 32. Divide by 16. Oh, thank you for bringing me outside there. Okay. Actually, that's main render. And the rest of that's fine. Okay, so we get back down here. We put this in render combat. We're going to have to put this up here so that it doesn't need a prototype for this to see it. Okay, so we have render that. And just for sake of testing, okay. This is what happens when you play with 3 languages. You got to pick your poison. Okay, so we are getting our hello world. All I wanted from that. Now then, we're going to have load enemy data, combat, text out equals a. We can even the name in here as it comes in. I'm not doing and. I'm not writing a thing to check to see if it starts with a vowel. Okay. So we have that. Let's get rid of that. Now we should have that name. Oh, wait. It's only loading because it has a 0 in there. That's why. Okay. Load enemy data 0. Now it's actually loading. And behold, the slime approaches. And I think that my text... Okay. So my text is in 8s and not 16. So I can fix this up by dividing it by 32. Or 8, sorry. That gives a bigger number. Okay. So this should be more correct. There we go. The slime approaches. Do I not have exclamation marks in my sheets? I don't. Let's fix that. Actually, no. It's about 3 hours, and I need to get to some things. So I think I'm going to call it here. I didn't actually get to combat because I looked too deep into the code, the assembly. So maybe at some other time I will return to this, but failure. I got the basic display of map and combat. Not even like the statistics, but yeah, that's where I am today. So either way. Oh. Something's going on with this. Might be dropping frames. But either way, I think I'm going to call it a day. Anything more is probably going to chew about 2 or 3 hours. Maybe at another time I will get to it. However, I'm going to say... Yeah, I'm just getting an error popping up that YouTube's not receiving enough data. Nothing I can do to fix it, but... So anyways, I'm going to leave it at that because I have things to get to. And I'm just going to say next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm going to try to do some Christmas-themed VTubers. Going to be some Face Connect girls. So I think it'd be funny. And yeah, it's going to be a whole heck of a thing. Yeah, I don't know what to do. But either way, thank you all for showing up. Sorry it's a little short, but I should have just focused on combat. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to do the map stuff as much. But the main problem is that I got way too deep into how it actually was done on the NES. And I'm going to blame it all on that, because I usually knock out these things in like 2 hours at a time. No, it's going to be just normal sort of outfits. But that'll be for next week. Either way, thank you for joining. And until later, have a good time of day.